As a young citizen of India, armed with technology, knowledge, and love for my nation, with a vision of transforming India into a developed nation, I'm joining Shobhit University. What about you?
Very good morning to all the participants from India and abroad from Shobhit Institute of Engineering and Technology, Meerut, deemed to be university and its centers of excellence, Center for Informatics Development Solutions and Applications, and the Center for Industry 4.0 Technology Studies and Applications. We welcome our guest speaker of today's webinar, a young NRI scientist and entrepreneur based at New York, USA, Mr. Vivek Varma. He is an advisor in Algoriom Incorporated, an artificial intelligence startup, New Jersey, USA, and a director, Sooham Analytics, an educational training startup, Raipur, India. And the participants from India and abroad attending this webinar, the international webinar series on open source digital technologies towards self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, 16th, 23rd January 23rd January 2021. Under this international webinar series, these two centers of excellence, Center for Informatics Development Solutions and Applications and Center for Informatics Development Solutions and Applications, have organized 19 lectures so far. Open technologies to provision simple and economical IT infrastructure, a roadmap for students using free and open source software and reaching goals of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Open source software and industrial IoTs for SMEs. Free and open source software adoption and business models. Open data platform for smart digital government. Technology imperatives make in India for self-reliance. Edge artificial intelligence. Data governance for self-reliant India. Digital India transforming governance and society. India's email service, citizen@indiamail.com in 22 constitutionally recognized languages. Ecosystem for digital transformation. Education system cyber critical infrastructure. Seizing opportunities in open innovation and value creation network in the digital world for self-reliant economy. Ensuring food safety and compliance through technology. Digital India, urgent need for semiconductor manufacturing in India. Technology investment in agriculture value chain, role of foreign direct investments. Entrepreneurship and skill development, artificial intelligence design pathways. The rise of platform economy, revisiting value chain governance. The era of automation, industrial robotics, and Industry 4.0 Indo-German perspectives for technology transfer, skill gap analysis, and opportunities. Today is the 20th edition of this very important webinar series. We will have the talk by a young scientist and entrepreneur, Mr. Vivek Varma, on the topic, role of artificial intelligence in healthcare, current developments in diagnosis and vaccine research, a topic of the today and topic of the need of the hour. In this webinar series, the topics which we have discussed is growing list. We talked about technology imperatives, technology investment, open technology, open systems, open infrastructure, open source software for open infrastructure, Open hardware for open infrastructure, open data for open data platform, open banking, open insurance, open innovation, value creation network, human resources development, startups in open technology applications, open society, industry 4.0, example for Pharma 4.0, textile 4.0, agriculture 4.0, industry 5.0, edge computing, data governance, Digital India, transforming governance and society, India's email service, open digital ecosystems, cyber critical infrastructure, dark data, dark cloud, dark web, dark net, technology enabled food value chain governance in platform economy, urgent need for semiconductor manufacturing to make digital India a way of life in India. Atmanirbhar Bharat is the road ahead. It is the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, of making India a self-reliant nation rested on 5 I's: intent, inclusion, investment, infrastructure, and innovation, and based on 5 pillars, namely economy, infrastructure, systems, vibrant demography, and demand, whereby the strength of our demand and supply chain should be utilized to full capacity. Digital world is the rise of platform economy. Application of big data, new algorithms, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, open API, and cloud computing is changing the nature of work and the structure of economy. Platform economy is economic and social activity facilitated by digital platforms. Is the tendency for commerce to increasingly move towards and favor digital platform business models. Digital platform economy is emerging. Digital ecosystems are essential for digital transformation in the digital world. What is a digital platform? For example, social media platforms, we know about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and so on and so forth. When it comes to knowledge platform, it is Stack Overflow, Quora, and so on and so forth. When you talk about media sharing platforms, it is YouTube, Spotify, and so on and so forth. When it is service-oriented platforms, it is Where and etc. When shall we have digital health platform? Digital health platform is a multidisciplinary domain involving many stakeholders, including clinicians, researchers, and scientists, with a wide range of expertise in healthcare, engineering, social sciences, public health, health economics, and data management. 3 most popular domains of digital health technologies include telemedicine, wearable technologies, and augmented and virtual reality. Computational simulations, modeling, and machine learning approaches can model health-related outcomes. Digital health platforms continue to emerge and evolve. One Health, Eco Health. Digital health means artificial intelligence and machine learning based on platforms that aggregate patient data. A digital healthcare ecosystem is an infrastructure that supports the shift from an organization-centric to patient-centric model of delivering healthcare services using digital platform. In India, Government of India has announced National Digital Health Mission of India, One Nation, One Health, which aims to streamline digital health ecosystem in India. One Nation, One Health card will digitalize the health records of all Indians, making patient data accessible and inclusive in one card. National Open Digital Ecosystem Node in Health has been operationalized in India. Platformization and National Open Digital Ecosystem can unlock economic opportunities worth of 700 billion for India. Once again, platformization of national open digital ecosystem nodes can unlock economic opportunities worth of 700 billion for India, according to a study by management consultancy BCG and impact investor Omdia Network India in September 2020. The National Digital Health Blueprint, published in 2019 in India, recommends that a federated architecture be adopted instead of a centralized architecture for the management of digital health data to ensure interoperability, technological flexibility, and independence across national digital health environment. Health informatics value chain, which should include human health, plant health, water health, marine health, animal health, soil health, and air health. Indian healthcare system includes allopathic system of medicine, Indian system of medicine, Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, and homeopathy. Central government is formulating an integrative health policy, one nation, one health system by 2030 that would integrate the modern and traditional system of medicine such as allopathy, homeopathy, and Ayurveda in medical practices, education, and research. One Health and Eco Health aims at strengthening the links between human health, animal health, management of the environment, plant, animal, fisheries, soil, and water. The Doubling Farmers Income by 2022 report recognizes integrated farm health management system. You can see volume 12B in chapter 10. Health informatics, as established, uses information technology to organize and analyze health records to improve healthcare outcomes. Healthcare informatics is rapidly evolving field and getting influenced by and impacting on many different knowledge domains such as nursing informatics, dental informatics, public health informatics, medical informatics, biomedical informatics, consumer health informatics, computational biology, telemedicine, electronic health records, data interchange through standards, etc., etc. Health informatics has emerged as an important informatics discipline of late, encompassing the disciplines of artificial intelligence, big data analytics, cloud computing, social network, mobility, Internet of Medical Things, Web of Medical Things, blockchain technology, biological computing, geomatics, bioinformatics, etc., leading to a new medical treatments and new diagnosis. Digital health startups are bringing novel technologies such as wearable technology, telemedicine, genomics, and artificial intelligence to the Indian healthcare system. Fourth industrial revolution, or Industry 4.0, is the ongoing automation of traditional industrial practices using modern smart architecture. The key technologies are artificial intelligence, analytics, operation research, blockchain, cloud, IoT, 5G communications, big data, and ecosystems. Industry 4.0 today and Industry 5.0 tomorrow. Artificial intelligence is revolutionizing healthcare with game-changing capabilities. Health system that have strongly invested in digital health will be the first to realize artificial innovation, artificial intelligence innovation. Health systems that have strongly invested in digital health will be the first to realize artificial intelligence innovation. No data means no artificial intelligence. Poor data means poor artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence technology combined with big data have potential to solve many clinical trial challenges. Big data and artificial intelligence technologies are complementary as artificial intelligence can help to synthesize and analyze ever-expanding data. Some of the most searched words in the last year were healthcare, pharmaceuticals, vaccine, and COVID. The global awareness towards medical diagnosis and vaccine research is at peak. due to the impacts of the pandemic. As such, we may see many companies, startups, and institutes launching their innovative healthcare technologies driven by artificial intelligence. Two of the numerous advantages of artificial intelligence are scaling up of technologies for mass populations and shorter time span of pharmaceutical drugs from the lab to the market. Let us now turn to the address on role of artificial intelligence in healthcare, current developments in diagnosis and vaccine research by Mr. Vivek Varma, our guest speaker today. In this talk, Mr. Vivek Varma will discuss some of the promising applications of artificial intelligence in clinical research and vaccine development. This topic will motivate and galvanize the participants watching over telecast through facebook.com/Sobit University India or youtube.com Sobit University in for motivating them to establish startups in healthcare to strengthen health informatics of the country. Let me introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Vivek Varma, to the participants of this webinar. Mr. Manish, please put the profile. Mr. Vivek Varma is a scientist and entrepreneur with a decade of experience in multiple domains, including healthcare, research, emerging technologies, and semiconductors. He lives in New York City and he was born and raised in Bhilai, Chhattisgarh, India. Mr. Vivek Parmar is the director of Sooham Analytics, an educational training startup based in Raipur, Chhattisgarh, India, and he is also advisor in Algoriom Incorporated, an artificial intelligence startup based in New Jersey, USA. Mr. Vivek Varma holds double MS degrees in nanoscale science and computational and applied mathematics. He is also an alumnus of 2011 batch of National Institute of Technology, Raipur, Chhattisgarh. His vision for Sooham Analytics is to democratize technology so that the mass population gets equipped with advanced skill sets and aptitude to become part of artificial intelligence driven fourth industrial revolution of the 21st century. Mr. Vivek Varma, we welcome you and we would like to request you to address the audience on the topic, role of artificial intelligence in healthcare, current developments in diagnosis and vaccine research. Over to Mr. Vivek Varma. He is addressing from New York, USA at this time. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Moni. First of all, Happy New Year and welcome to all the participants across the world. Thanks everyone again for joining this talk on a very important subject, which is the role of artificial intelligence in healthcare and some of the important developments in diagnostic research and vaccine research. So let's get started. My screen is visible, all right?
No, you have to go to application window and then click it. It's not the full screen. You know, you are showing the screen.
So it's opening, just open the PPT, just open the PowerPoint.
I did that.
No, you come out.
Okay.
You open the PPT and then share screen.
Sure.
And application window and then share. Yesterday you did it.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Now you full screen.
Is it full screen?
No, it is not full screen. You go to slideshow. Okay, good.
Okay. Awesome. So thank you everyone again. I know a lot of audience are joining from all across the world, and everyone has their own level of understanding about artificial intelligence. Some of them are already working in AI or artificial intelligence, and few of them are also working in some of the applications in healthcare and pharmaceutical form. So for the sake of understanding, let's begin this talk with a gentle introduction on what is artificial intelligence and um, what are some of the applications of AI in different industries, in different domains. And then we will get started towards our subject of today, which is the applications of artificial intelligence in healthcare diagnosis and vaccine research. So artificial intelligence is it's a branch of computer science which got more predominant around 1960s after the Second World War, and it focuses on building smart machines which are capable of performing tasks which are equivalent to or which requires human intelligence. Along with the technologies of the present, including big data analytics, machine learning, and software development, AI provides intelligent decision-making capabilities in multiple domains, which includes healthcare, finance, e-commerce, social media, and energy sector. So we all have experienced one or more applications of AI in our day-to-day lives. Let's take up some simple example. If you use a smartphone and if your smartphone has locking and unlocking using your face, then the facial recognition software or the facial recognition application actually uses AI models on the back end to lock or unlock your devices. Similarly, if you use email in your work or for your own personal use, then you may see that your important messages are actually organized in the inbox, and the unwanted and some scam emails are actually filtered in the spam folder. So this is again an application of machine learning and AI. Social media, which almost everyone uses nowadays in one or more form for their personal use or for professional use, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and so on. It all uses facial recognition softwares, clustering softwares, recommendation softwares, and so on, which are all again, excuse me, some applications of artificial intelligence. If you have called a customer care for any of your problem, you may have used some chatbots or voice bots, which are again developed using AI technologies. The era of future is smart appliances driven. So we are heading towards the world of smart devices, smart appliances, and smart homes. including Alexa from Amazon and Google Voices and so on and so forth. Many of these appliances are already termed as smart appliances like smart TV, smart refrigerators, smart washing machines, and so on. The technology behind the smartness of these appliances are again developed through artificial intelligence. On a more holistic approach, we see that the farming sector and agricultural sector are also influenced by AI-driven applications. The most common one we know of are drone technologies for monitoring, for pest control, for just some mapping of your land. All of this requires development of algorithms, which are known as AI algorithms or machine learning algorithms. So we see that all around us, we already experience one or some applications of AI, and we are actually living in the era of artificial intelligence. Now, on the actual topic of today, which is the impact or the applications of artificial intelligence for healthcare, let's begin the discussion to see a very important stat which I found very recently. We all know from last year around March, the awareness of mass population towards healthcare, towards vaccine, towards pharmaceutical industry, towards therapeutics, diagnosis, and all of this have gained more and more attention. And the reason why this is happening is because we live in an era of constant communication. We have social media, internet all across us, so which facilitates constant flow of information from one part of the world to other part of the world. Now, in this age, after this global pandemic, a lot of startups emerged all across the world, in Europe, North America, Asia, Pacific, and so on. So we see here in the third quarter of 2020, we see there is a high increase in the number of investments for global healthcare startups. And for the first time, it hit the 2 billion mark in the third quarter of 2020. Now, we know that already the number of startups in AI were increasing, but this pandemic situation has actually given a big thrust to many of these industries, many of these startups to develop one or some form of softwares or applications which enable faster diagnosis, faster treatment, contact tracing, and so on, which are critical for the health and safety of the globe at present. Now, let's talk more specifically. What are some direct applications of artificial intelligence in healthcare? So in this figure, we see there are 8 major applications shown here, which are originating from AI and AI-enabled technologies, including robotics, including simulation, and machine learning. So the first one is keeping well. So again, back to the same topic from which I started. Most of us use smartphones to track our steps per day. Some of us also have Fitbits, Google Watches, and so on, which keeps a track of how many steps we have taken per day, what is our heart rate, what is our body vitals, and so on. So the idea is, in order to keep well, there are so many apps for the smartphones which have come, and all of the smartphones actually uses majority of the applications of artificial intelligence. To give you a simple example, there is an app called LifeSum, which uses your preferences of diet and food, and based on that, it provides you recommendation on what to eat and what not to eat to keep a healthy vitals and healthy body based on your own preferences. So we see that keeping well is a major goal nowadays for a lot of people just because of the ease of use of this smartphone apps in our own pockets. Next, very important application of artificial intelligence is in early detection of diseases. So when we talk about early detection of diseases, what is primarily focused on are scanning of some diagnostic reports, taking some scans like X-rays, MRIs, PET scans, and so on, and using some computer vision image classification models so that within a less amount of time and with high degree of precision in lower cost, we can detect some critical diseases like cancerous and tumors and some sort of macular degeneration in eyes, diabetes, and many other diseases in which one or two of the symptoms can be critical for the early diagnosis and detection. Now, when we talk about diagnosis, it is similar to detection. However, here we use some simulated systems. A simple example is IBM Watson. So with this platform, there are a lot of cognitive capabilities which uses some semantic understanding and some other technologies of AI, which help in diagnosis of one or more diseases, which supplement the doctors and physicians to provide a better treatment and better plan for the patients. Decision making is an important process. One of the most predominant application of artificial intelligence is in predictive analysis. So the models and algorithms of predictive modeling helps to make intelligent decisions. Again, the same softwares like IBM Watson, Microsoft Lewis, and other natural language processing based models helps in making more intelligent, more sophisticated decision with the help of data which are constantly getting accumulated and organized. In the treatment side, we all have heard news of robotic surgery, virtual reality based surgery, and some sort of biolimbs or artificial limbs. All of these technologies are getting more and more in the hands of general population because of the ease and the simplicity of artificial intelligence. Because as and when the number of patients and the amount of data grows, the treatment costs for this artificial limbs and other types of robotic surgeries will substantially go down, so that a general person can also get the benefit of this AI assisted treatments like surgery, like some sort of diagnosis using augmented reality and so on. Now, research is another important sector of the benefits driven by artificial intelligence. We all know that typically in the past, when we used to hear about a particular disease, the amount of time which it took from lab to the market for a particular drug or vaccine was on an average 2 to 5 years. Sometimes it used to take like 10 years as well. But we see that the COVID vaccine came in a record time of less than 1 year. Why do we think it happened so fast? And not only one, but by more than 5 or 6 different firms all across the world. One of the main reasons is because of the research and some of the applications of artificial intelligence, again, like computational biology, like drug discovery, and some similar applications of AI help in facilitated and fast research. In training aspect, again, the same simulation systems and apps helps in training health practitioners and healthcare providers, health insurance companies, and public to become more and more aware of their health. So we see that in this one slide, we had discussed almost 10 to 15 different applications of artificial intelligence in many different areas and scope of healthcare. Now, let's try to understand some of the concepts of artificial intelligence for medical diagnosis, and later on we will talk about the same applications of artificial intelligence for vaccine research. So again, like we saw in the last slide, this topic is so broad that it's a challenge to actually incorporate all the details or all the major details in one seminar. So what I did was, I actually used some use cases through which I will walk through how some of the algorithms and some of the applications of machine learning analytics helps in medical diagnosis and vaccine research. And we see here in this schema, these are the 6 top artificial intelligence startups impacting the healthcare industry. At present, majority of them are from North America, and a couple of them are from Europe as well. Now, the first application and the first use case of artificial intelligence for medical diagnosis is based on diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease. So Alzheimer's disease is again being researched from the last 30-35 years. A lot of understanding has been gained about Alzheimer's disease, but the bigger challenge still lies how to identify a particular patient in early stages of Alzheimer's disease so that proper treatment and prevention can be made before the disease progresses to higher levels. So to give again some understanding of Alzheimer's disease, it's a brain disease which is irreversible, and for medical terminology, we say that it is characterized by amyloid plaques and tau tangles in the brain, which causes the brain to lose some of the important areas and important activities which are related to speech, motion, and perception are lost because of the loss in the areas of brain due to Alzheimer's disease. Now, clinically, there are some biomarkers of Alzheimer's disease, and the idea is to collect the specimens, the brain scans, or some sort of cerebrospinal fluid in order to detect those biomarkers. So there are different approaches on how to find these biomarkers or some potential symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. Some of them are more lab-based, and others are used through some image data analysis. Now, in order to pinpoint whether a particular patient has Alzheimer's disease, the doctor and the radiologist needs to differentiate the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease against some similar looking symptoms in other types of neurodegenerative diseases, particularly vascular dementia and other types of age-related mental illnesses. And the main challenge so far was to differentiate the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease with respect to the other similarly looking symptoms. And that is what the era of machine learning based diagnosis took it as a challenge to solve, so that in future, before the later symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, the particular patient can be treated or prevented from this disease. Now, there are so I actually worked on this Alzheimer's disease, a part of this research, couple of years back, in an inter-university grant research, and in that research project, I was a part of team which was working in semantic analysis of some of the data. So I found some interesting understanding and facts about Alzheimer's disease, which I would like to share in this use case. So for the precise diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, we follow a two-step methodology or a two-step strategy. The first one involves using machine learning algorithms, both traditional and advanced algorithms, and then followed by semantic analysis of patient-doctor conversations. And I will get to this point when I will discuss what is the patient-doctor conversation. So what it actually does is that this two-step process eliminates the false positives and false negatives, which are also similar in vascular dementia and other types of neurological degeneration. Now, let's talk about what are the steps involved in step one, which is machine learning analysis of the brain scans. So in the first step of detection of Alzheimer's disease, feature selection is performed. So the data, or the MRI, magnetic resonance imaging data, is collected from the test subjects, and using some convolutional neural networks or some sort of image classification algorithms, important features are extracted with the help of domain experts like doctors, physicians, radiologists, and so on. And the teams who have already been working from a long period of time knows which areas to look for. So by pinpointing those areas, some important features are actually characterized in this step. In the next step, we use some supervised machine learning algorithms. Typically, we start with, let's say, logistic regression, some simple classification algorithms, then followed by neural networks like multi-layer perceptron. And recently, last 3-4 years back, many teams are actually using deep learning frameworks, deep learning models like convolutional neural networks, and so on, for classification of the images as Alzheimer's disease or non-Alzheimer's disease. So non-Alzheimer's disease may be some other type of neurodegenerative diseases, or it may be some healthy test subjects which are used as base.
Okay.
Yes.
There is some network issue. Please speak to the very near to the your computer, and okay. Please carry on.
Okay. Is it fine now?
Okay, fine. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. So continuing on our discussion, the second step involves typically the classification algorithms and finding the best performing machine learning algorithm for detection of Alzheimer's versus non-Alzheimer. Now, after playing around with multiple algorithms, the best performing model is selected based on some performance metrics like AUC curves, specificity, and sensitivity. So this performance metrics actually helps to finish the first step, in which we rigorously test the scans for Alzheimer's disease or non-Alzheimer's disease. So these are some areas of brain which are actually scanned um, using the MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, uh, for potential areas infected or affected by Alzheimer's disease. So I'm not a neurologist, but when you read some articles on Alzheimer's disease, we see a lot of this scans, some X-ray scans and other MRI scans, they actually show some small dots or some small white spots, which corresponds to the areas which are affected by uh, which are affected as a result of Alzheimer's disease. So the performance metrics which I was talking of in a couple of slides back are, let's say, receiver operating characteristics. So on the left, we see there are some values which are from some time specific data. For example, uh, at the time when the test was done, and after a year, after 2 year, 3 year, and 4 year, and based on this, the test subjects um, are being continuously diagnosed for the progression of Alzheimer's disease, and multiple scans are being taken so that the progression of the disease or some other types of disease can be tracked continuously. And in the next step of diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, we do something known as semantic analysis. To give you a small background on what is semantic analysis and how it is performed. So basically, in semantic analysis or for semantic analysis, we use a data set which consists of some conversation or some text information between the doctor and the patient. So some of these texts are already um, uh, developed and organized. For example, in US, they have something known as Dementia Bank, which have close to 15 years of conversations, text conversation, and also speech data, voice conversation of the doctor and the patients, and these are all recorded. So, in order to do semantic analysis, this text and the voice data are used. Now, before I begin, what do we do here? The idea behind using the semantic analysis is to actually develop some sort of connections between particular words and their relevance or their importance in Alzheimer's disease, because this particular words, this particular pieces of information are actually um, pieced together and made a relevant insight, which actually helps in specific analysis of the patient, whether whether the patient is suffering from Alzheimer's or some other type of neurodegenerative diseases. So in the beginning, when I explained that it's a big challenge to actually differentiate the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease versus some vascular dementia or some other types of diseases. So this second step actually helps to pinpoint the symptoms with more degree of precision for Alzheimer's disease. Now, in this step, in this semantic analysis, the first step is to organize the data. So, for example, if you have voice extracts or voice conversations of the patient and the doctor, then it is converted into text data. And from this text data, some important features are identified. So, for example, when we were working on this particular data set, we tried to find some parts of speech, some verbs, some sort of grammatical important words, which kind of helped us get more relevant information. So initially we did some unsupervised machine learning algorithms, which clustered similarly conceptual words in one cluster, and as a result, we saw how these words behave differently with a patient which is suffering from Alzheimer's disease versus someone who is not suffering from Alzheimer's disease. However, they both might be showing similar symptoms in terms of the in terms of some plagues or um, some infections in brain. So once this cluster of words are actually developed, we do further rigorous testing using some dimensionality reduction techniques, and we find important or critical variables. Once that step is done, we use some supervised machine learning algorithms. For example, we can use random forest um, for the start, which actually does the same job which we did in step number one for binary classification of Alzheimer's disease versus non-Alzheimer's disease. The beauty of this second step is to actually validate the results of the first step. So we have a concrete evidence of what we got in the first step is actually valid and accurate after the semantic analysis or step number two, because here not only we did binary classification, but we actually identified some conceptual understanding of the semantic meanings of this text data. Now, after this important step, both the approaches and the performance metrics are evaluated for accurate prediction of Alzheimer's disease. Now, how do we make sure that this particular strategy, this two-step strategy for detection of Alzheimer's disease, can be made available for mass population? So one simple way is to actually create an app, and if if someone shows a symptom of Alzheimer's disease, then in a clinical setting, the person's voice data or the person's voice is actually captured in the smartphone, and then in the backend, this two-step process will analyze the the conceptual meaning, and it will compare the brain scans of that subject, so that if there are some matching symptoms from the trained data with this new subject, then the person can be identified as someone showing progression of Alzheimer's disease or not. So this is one intelligent way of actually applying the algorithms of AI for mass population using some simple, intuitive strategies. The next application of AI is in stroke. So again, stroke is one of the leading cause of deaths in North America and all across the world, actually. Stroke can be due to multiple reasons. It may be because of your abnormalities in body, abnormalities um, in your heart or in some sort of blood vessels. And also it can be related to depression or some shock in the body. So it's always a challenge to actually um, identify the right time or the right symptoms of stroke, and the the new generation and the new technologies uh, enabled by artificial intelligence has taken an initiative to accurate identify whether a particular symptom is stroke like or not stroke like. So to give a small background of what this particular use case is all about, so the types of strokes are three types. The one which we are talking in this seminar is ischemic stroke. So this stroke is actually caused by blockage in an artery which supplies blood to the brain. Now, because of this blockage, the brain cells die or it starts to show some degeneration. As a result, the subject actually shows confusion, dizziness, and in lethal cases, also death. So the challenge here is that if the symptom of this blockage is identified in the initial stages, then the criticality of this stroke can be avoided and the patient can be saved before things go south. And if it's not treated, then permanent brain damage can also happen, which can make a person in coma as well. So for this talk, I actually found an important breakthrough by a company called Viz.ai. Viz.ai is one of the pioneer which was approved by the Food and Drug Administration for their diagnostic app in stroke, ischemic stroke. So this company actually developed software known as Contact City, or it's known as Viz Contacity, which stands for Visualization of Contact CT Scan, Computed Tomographic Scan, and the MVP or the idea behind this app is to detect large vessel occlusion stroke, which simply means the stroke which actually um, which actually strikes the artery. And using this software, the company actually helps in segregating the the potential patients which are deemed to suffer from stroke in near future. So how the company does, it's a proprietary software, but as a researcher, we know from our experience that the company uses some sort of image classification algorithms in artificial intelligence to analyze the computed tomography scans, and based on some trained data, it compares those scans uh, to find some symptoms of stroke in the test subjects or in the patients. If it finds that a particular blockage in the brain has been found, then it notify the nearest hospital or the neurological specialist via smartphone or tablet, so that the time to take treatment is actually drastically reduced, because majority of time we know that the the major death of a patient in stroke is because of delay in taking the patient to the hospital. So if that particular time frame can be cut down, then the criticality can be drastically reduced. And let's see a small video to get an understanding of how the company actually came up with this idea, how the company Viz.ai came up with this idea. This sounds highly promising, and the white paper from this company actually claims that it has drastically reduced the number of stroke-related deaths ever since it got launched in the US and in the number of hospitals which took which took the advantages of this Wish.ai. Now, some of the advantages of this early diagnosis is to reduce the time when the symptoms actually shows and the doctor or the hospital is notified, the ambulance and all this services are actually ready for starting the treatment. So particularly since I live in New York, and it's a crazy system of healthcare here in Manhattan. So
Hello?
Mount Sinai Hospital.
No,
Yes.
there was some delay. This is the first slide you are showing after the video.
Yes.
Okay, fine. There was some, we are not able to see you, so that's why. Okay, carry on.
Okay. So let me repeat what I was saying. So I was saying that in New York, Mount Sinai hospitals, this Wish.ai diagnostic software app has actually reduced the time of 33 minutes from the diagnosis and the treatment of stroke patients. And likewise, in other places as well, it has done some tremendous job. So we see here that the number of applications of AI-related medical diagnosis are manifold. You can talk of maybe diabetes, blood pressure, salt concentration, eye-related diseases, depression, breathing issues, respiratory problems, and so on. Majority of them may have one or two symptoms which can be easily tracked and diagnosed with the help of your smartphone. And if we develop some sort of AI-enabled intelligent softwares, then we can aid, diagnose, or identify the symptoms, and to help a patient which is in critical situation to get treatment within a particular span of time. So these are some important applications of artificial intelligence in medical diagnosis. And this was just what I was saying about Wish.ai, that the length of stay has reduced to over 55% after it has been enabled in particular hospitals. Now, another important area of artificial intelligence is in vaccine research. Vaccine research is a complicated process. It involves multi-step methodology in order to develop a particular vaccine or a particular drug. One of the main hurdle in vaccine research and drug development is that around 80 to 90% of the vaccines and drugs are actually discarded or failed during the quality control and FDA approval stages. So because of this major issue, a lot of pharmaceutical firms and a lot of startups, healthcare startups particularly, are looking for some intuitive ways so as to cut down the time, cost, and resources to bring a particular drug or a particular vaccine from lab to the market in less time for the benefit of a large population. And we have seen some promising results, some excellent results during this COVID vaccine research and development. So let's get some fundamentals of vaccine development. So like I mentioned, it's a multi-step process. In the first or the initial steps, a lot of brainstorming are done on exploring the important drugs or important molecules which can be used for the development of a particular vaccine. So in this phase of drug discovery or molecule identification, a lot of simulation models are already existing in computational biology, in computational chemistry, and with some highly advanced models in artificial intelligence, like some deep learning frameworks, and recently quantum-based models, quantum-based machine learning models. The 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 number of simulated molecules can be identified in lesser amount of time because of high degree of computational efficiency. After exploring some important molecules for a particular vaccine or drug, the preclinical trials involves doing some adversarial research of that particular molecules on the test subjects. So again, in this step, upcoming technologies which will involve or which will reduce or avoid animal testing, so that using simulation models itself, using AI-based simulation models itself, preclinical and clinical development can take place, which will again cut down the time and the cost involved, and also it will be more ethical way of a drug and vaccine development. After the clinical development, the approving agencies like FDA, they actually see whether or not the drug has gone through proper time, proper proper clinical trials, and so on. And once everything is done, a drug is manufactured, and then the quality control or the efficacy of the drug in real patients are being looked upon. So this is a general pathway on how a vaccine research is actually done. Now, using AI, the time period of this vaccine from the table to the market can be reduced. There are few important technologies which are actually getting high degree of momentum in AI. One of the important area is to aggregate large amount of data. So when we do drug discovery or finding a critical drug molecule, lot of simulation-based research uses development of data sets, fabricated data sets, which actually helps to find more precise molecules. After this step, some electronic data capture and natural language processing and natural language understanding models can also reduce the human error in data collection and also in clinical research trials, so that the amount of time it takes in documentation in different aspects of research can be cut down without hampering the accuracy of the entire process. Now, this schema or this slide actually talks about some very important applications of artificial intelligence. So in the first step, in the trial design, we see that whenever we have some unstructured or structured data, then some insights are actually developed using predictive algorithms. And after that, the data is actually used for automated clinical research documentation. So a lot of time, this research scientists, clinical research associates, and other team members who work in the vaccine research spend a lot of time in actually writing, drafting the documentation manually or in computer systems. So using some intuitive technologies, and one of these technology we'll be talking of, which I have highlighted here in this circle, or in this red circle, it is to develop the final clinical trial report using natural language processing models. And once this step is completed, other strategies or other applications of AI, for example, sensors-based tracking, compiling, aggregating, pre-processing, and developing some insights using those data can be done in cloud, which again cuts down the amount of time it takes to bring a particular drug from research into the patient care or customer. Now, one important application uh, of pacing the clinical research is text summarization. So during clinical research trials, like I mentioned, a lot of time is actually invested in proper documentation, in summarizing some documentation, and also in developing some proper insights from those documentation. All of these tasks can be actually automated using some promising results in newer generation of deep learning models in artificial intelligence. So text summarization, to give a small background, is the task to automatically produce a brief summary of a paragraph, which actually restores the key information. There are two different methods which are used for text summarization. One is directly summarizing the text, which is known as extractive summarization. Another approach involves actually making some deeper insights by using NLU, also known as natural language understanding, so that the original document is used and it is actually churned down to get valuable insights. Abstractive summarization is a challenge for a lot of machine learning models because the intelligence or the intuition of this model uh, for this niche domain is limited, and a lot of time is actually spent in training the existing models to get used to this domain specific data, domain specific information, so that they can become more adaptive and they can evolve to summarize the texts which are handy when a particular vaccine or drug needs to be developed in record time. Some of the most common methodologies which are used in text summarization of clinical data is using uh, BioBert, which is again a deep learning model, which is based on transformers. It has been trained with biomedical text, with biomedical data, and it was trained with PubMed and PMC, so that important tasks related for clinical documentation, for biomedical research, for biotechnology, and human related medical research can be facilitated, can be fast paced using this particular model called BioBert and related models like clinical BERT and SciBERT as well. Now, um, the approach which is actually used in clinical text summarization can be summarized or can be brought in three different steps. In the first step, the existing model, which is BERT, which is again, like I mentioned, is based on transformer, is fine-tuned or is adapted or retrained with clinical data, with the clinical notes which are created or which are drafted by clinical research associates, R&D scientists in clinical labs and related professionals. Once this model is fine-tuned or the clinical BERT is fine-tuned, in the next step, the SciBERT or scientific BERT is fine-tuned or similar approaches followed here as well, wherein an existing model is used and retrained on scientific data, which is specific for a particular domain research, so that the model get a kind of selective bias on that particular type of data and that particular type of information. After these two steps, this clinical BERT and SciBERT, the final BERT model, or a customized or a tailored BERT model for text summarization, is created with the help of um, some training set of data. For example, some biomedical data, some clinical data, some scientific papers, journal articles, and so on. And there are multiple steps which are involved inside of this text summarizations. For example, finding abbreviation, creating conclusion, finding some meaningful sentences, and so on. So this is again an important area of artificial intelligence, which can automate the process of vaccine research and drug discovery to a larger proportion if it is properly planned and properly implemented. So we see here as well that a lot of times some of the developments in AI can result in manifold applications in healthcare, in pharmaceutical research, and also in drug discovery. So with this, I conclude my talk. In this talk, we saw two different approaches, two different strategies in healthcare. One was in diagnosis of particular disease. For example, we use a use case um, of Alzheimer's disease, and we did a case study on Alzheimer's disease. And secondly, we looked on some application of stroke and diagnosis of stroke using AI. In the second strategy of application of artificial intelligence, we looked into vaccine research and drug discovery, which involves multiple steps. And in all of these steps, there are one or more applications of artificial intelligence which can be implemented and applied to shorten the time of development of drug or vaccine. So the applications are huge. We just saw some specific topics, some specific case studies. There are a lot of things which can be talked about. I have put forth some references here on the areas and topics which I had covered. If you have any further questions, or if you have any more, if you need more clarity on any of these topics, feel free to reach out to me. I will make sure I pass my contact details to Dr. Moni, and I will definitely make sure to take your questions from there. With that, I will allow Dr. Moni to speak.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vivek Varma, for your very, wonderful and packed presentation for the audience, both in India and abroad. Can you come out from your presentation? Okay. Before I summarize, let me ask Mr. Manish to find out whether there are any comments or questions from the audience. Mr. Manish, can you reflect some of the questions or comments received? Okay. There are comments? Okay, Mr. Vivek, Dr. Faiz Akram from Zuma Institute of Technology, Ethiopia. His question is, what are the main challenges of implementing artificial intelligence in the healthcare sector? Mr. Vivek Varma.
Right. So the challenges are multiple. I mean, of course, there are challenges associated with the approval from the federal governing bodies like FDA and others, which are very cautious before approving um, a particular application or a particular software or product based on artificial intelligence or as such, because this is a matter of life and death. So um, I'm 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 pretty sure that a lot of times, a lot of times, important time is being spent on um, compliances, regulatory, and so on of this products of AI or other technologies. Another big challenge is to um, identify and work with proper amount of data. A lot of time, if we work in some diseases particularly, the type of data which we use or which we have for diagnosis research or other aspects of healthcare are not sufficient, or even if they are sufficient, the type of accuracy which we are looking at are not um, are not acceptable. So this is again an important aspect. And the third aspect is the price. If you develop a highly accurate software, and let's say it's again approved by the regulatory body, but if the price is high, then a lot of people are not able to afford. One simple example I read recently is um, a particular company has developed um, COVID testing at home, and for a particular test, the kit costs like $50 um, per kit. But let's talk about this cost realistically. If someone wants to do this testing every week or every month, then $50 per kit is not a price which we look at realistically. So only when the price can go down below $5 or even less, then we can say that the AI software or the AI kit, AI related, AI based kit, I'm sorry, is acceptable to mass population. So this is another challenge which is faced by companies a lot of times. Cost, regulatory, the protocols, and the the accuracy of the information or the results which we are looking at are some of the major factors governing the acceptance of AI related product in healthcare. You are in mute, Dr. Moni, if you are speaking.
Thank you, Mr. Vivek Parmar, for responding to this very important query of Dr. Faiz Akram. Cost is a very important component, and the time taken by regulatory authorities is another component, and also this accuracy involved. Mr. Doctor, is there any other comments or queries, Mr. Manish? Can you, Mr. Manish? Okay. So once again, he is asking that what problems can artificial intelligence cause in human life?
Um, Again, there are a lot of things which can be talked about. One common application which we see is the biasness of AI models for different types of population. So, for example, if a particular product has been developed by a group or by a company, and the type of data is used or which are used to train the model is not inclusive of the large diversity or the diverse population, then we can say that the results are suffering from selective biasness. So in this type of situation, even if the results are accurate beyond the expectation for a particular group of population, then also we cannot ascertain that it can be accurate for other population as well, because a lot of times we have seen these challenges coming up. And I mean, other than that, if your data is actually stored in some cloud, or some sensors are being used to track the information for this AI softwares algorithms, there are also huge risks of jeopardizing the privacy of your or your personal information, your data, and compromising your personal information. If the data is hacked or there is some malperforming, then also there are chances that the software or the product itself may fail. So, I mean, we can talk about more specific challenges, but these are some generic topics which are talked about as challenges of AI in human life. You're in mute again.
Okay. Okay. Very nice, Mr. Vivek Varma. And these two questions are very important. One is that challenges in implementing AI in healthcare and the problems, faced in by humans. So this is an important thing that one has to create trust in among the public, and also the challenges while implementing AI in healthcare. Mr. Manish, is there any other queries?
No, sir.
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Vivek Parmar. Let me summarize the various points which you talked about it. You also talked about it that AI solutions for text summarization is the last one you put it, but now I'm not using AI for text summarization, but I'm using my own human intelligence to summarize what you have talked about in this very important webinar. You talked about 70 to 75 minutes on the topic of role of artificial intelligence, healthcare, current developments in diagnosis and vaccine research. It is something like a classroom environment where you talked about this very important topic with case studies, very important two cases with respect to that very important disease, alchemist, the disease. You talked about the Alzheimer's disease, and also that on the diagnosis of stroke. And then also you talked about application of AI in summarization. Because you have talked about the areas where then how the data is being collected for clinical research and also for vaccine research and drug research, where the collection of data and then validation of data, is very important. And also that how artificial intelligence can facilitate. And, it is a very important, area which you covered. And to starting with, you said that what is artificial intelligence? And then application of artificial intelligence by giving lot of examples that how facial recognition is being undertaken through artificial intelligence techniques, and how email systems nowadays are using artificial intelligence technique in a very important manner, and also in social media and smart appliances and so on and so forth. And you also mentioned that how in a farming sector artificial intelligence is techniques are being used by through artificial machine learning algorithms. And in the health sector, in the topic in which you talked about it, that how deep learning and simulation models with in respect of computational biology, computational chemistry, and also that how natural language processing techniques are being effectively used. In computer science, we talked about artificial intelligence in theory, but in the way in which the health sector has adopted artificial intelligence has been found very enormous. And this area should not be restricted only. This case study should not be even restricted only with respect to the health sector, but it also has to be taught in computer science and information technology area very effectively. Then these, you also said that healthcare startups have emerged during the, COVID pandemic situations. That, and it is. You also mentioned about 8 major applications are being, effectively using artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence enabled technologies. And in meanwhile, during the process, you also talked about the various products which are available from IBM Watson Research Labs and also from Microsoft and so on and so forth. Then coming back to the topic that AI in medical diagnosis, you used use cases, and in diagnosis of a very important area like these brain disease, that Alzheimer's disease, and this is pre and post, how scan analysis and semantic analysis are using the artificial intelligence algorithms very effectively. And you have gone step by step to make the participants understand very effectively. And I felt that it is something like a classroom environment where you as a teacher, you effectively taught this very important topic in a very progressive and knowledgeable manner. And during the discussion, your main thread of focus is that how these applications can be used for mass population. And that's only has prompted the 2 queries from Dr. Faiz Akram from Ethiopia, that what are the challenges of using applying artificial intelligence technique in healthcare, and also with respect to human life. And you said it very effectively that whatever the applications which we would like to bring it has to be available for mass population at a reduced cost. The cost is more important. That time has to be reduced in in this artificial intelligence technology. Facilitates the time reduction and research accuracy very effectively. And you also given examples like that. During the stroke, when the for the stroke related categories, that how they were able to save time. The message which you are given there is that timing is brain. Timing is brain. And and this is a very important thing that sorry. And time is a very critical factor. And and you said it that it was able to save timing from 33 minutes to 66 minutes, for saving the people that, so this is very important. And faster clinical trials using artificial intelligence, and improved electronic data capture and application of natural language processing, and advanced data analytics and artificial intelligence automation, during trial design, startup, contact, and study closeout. So this is important thing. And the last one which you talked very effectively is that you have done a lot of research. The technology has been used, but it has generated a lot of results and so on and so forth, and how it has to be summarized without any biasness. Because manual interventions can bring in lot of errors in that. How to avoid that? So you also talked about that text summarization, documentation using deep learning models and natural language process, and text summarization of clinical data, even. And there you mentioned about how the BioBet is a biomedical languages, how we are being used on clinical nodes to bring in and to fine tune the results, in the textual format which comes out from the lab, how it has to be authenticated, how it should be accurate, how it should eliminate all the possible errors and so on and so forth. And you talked about two categories, that extractive summarization and abstractive summarization. So it is a very fulfilling address, and it has generated interest that we need to have once more your talk. Many times people say that once more, once more, once more. The thing is that it is today, this is a 70 minutes talk. You generated interest, as a computer science, as a student of computer science, and the scientist working in the informatics area, and also promoter of health informatics in a very big manner. That from the university, we have established Center for Health Informatics to promote health informatics value chain. And this is an area where that health informatics can bring in lot of large scale employment opportunity for the students of biology and mathematics through this health informatics value chain, and teaching of artificial intelligence and big data analytics, and Internet of Things can bring in this area, very effectively, and it will impact the society very positively. So as a first step, today's your talk, role of artificial intelligence in healthcare, is the is self-reliant step. It is marching towards that self-reliance, that how we should apply artificial intelligence technique very effectively, enormously in this healthcare sector, for which we have to, understand a digital ecosystem architecture. It is more important. And the healthcare is not only with respect to human health care. It is an ecosystem. It is a one health, eco health. It is a human health and also plant health, animal health, and soil health and water health. And this has to be, brought in together through these advanced techniques, so that these health care is understood appropriately, and technology enabled health care is being understood properly, and appropriate health informatics is being developed. So in this direction, today's your topic on role of artificial intelligence in healthcare, and specifically current developments in diagnosis and vaccine research. Through your, talk, by giving examples, technology, software examples, and also, area examples, and also coming up to that, how the AI is helping text summarization. We thank Mr. Vivek Varma from the Soviet Institute of Engineering and Technology, and also on behalf of the Honorable Chancellor of Soviet Institute of Engineering and Technology, deemed to be university, and on behalf of the Vice Chancellor of the university, and on behalf of the faculties of the university, and on my behalf as the Professor Emeritus and Chairman of Center for Informatics Development Solutions and Applications and Center for Informatics Development Solutions, Industry 4.0 Technology Studies and Application. We thank your participation, and we also greet from the Soviet University. For more research inquiries, please contact Professor Moni Madaswamy, Professor Emeritus and Chairman of these two centers of excellence, and former Director General, National Informatics Center, Government of India, New Delhi. My email address is moni@sovietuniversity.ac.in. We thank once again, and we close the seminar, and we'll leave the studio. Thank you very much. Thank you.